Yorktown Memorial Hospital, located in Texas, has long been a subject of intrigue and ghostly tales. Built in the early 20th century, this once thriving hospital has a rich history intertwined with the struggles and triumphs of the community it served. For many years, the hospital was a hub of activity, providing care for countless patients. However, it also witnessed its share of tragedies, including the deaths of patients who could not be saved and the emotional toll on the staff. These events have given rise to numerous ghost stories that continue to capture the imagination of both locals and paranormal enthusiasts. Visitors to Yorktown Memorial Hospital have reported strange occurrences, including unexplained noises, flickering lights, and sudden temperature drops. Staff members and ghost hunters alike have claimed to hear the sounds of footsteps echoing in empty hallways, as well as the whispers of voices that seem to come from nowhere. Some have even described encounters with shadowy figures moving through the building. One of the most chilling stories involves a nurse who dedicated her life to caring for patients in their final moments. Legend has it that her spirit still roams the halls, tending to those in need and providing comfort. Visitors have reported the sensation of being gently touched or a warm presence nearby when they feel particularly vulnerable. Another haunting tale centers around room 13, where several patients passed away under mysterious circumstances. Those brave enough to enter have described an overwhelming sense of unease, along with cold spots and flickering lights. Some claim to have seen a figure watching them from the corner of the room, only to disappear when approached. Despite its eerie reputation, Yorktown Memorial Hospital also holds an air of nostalgia and history. Many locals remember it fondly as a place of healing and hope, which adds complexity to the ghostly tales that surround it. Today, the building stands as a testament to the past, drawing visitors who seek to uncover its mysteries and perhaps encounter a lingering spirit. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the stories of Yorktown Memorial Hospital serve as a reminder of the lives once lived within its walls and the enduring connection between the past and present. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. As dusk fell over Yorktown Memorial Hospital, the old building loomed like a silent sentinel against the deepening twilight. The air felt heavy with the weight of history, and a palpable energy buzzed around the crumbling structure, drawing in curious visitors and ghost hunters alike. Among them was Sarah, a local journalist with a penchant for the paranormal. Intrigued by the tales of the hospital's haunted past, she decided to investigate, hoping to uncover a story that would both captivate her readers and satisfy her own curiosity. Equipped with her camera, flashlight, and a voice recorder, Sarah stepped through the creaking front doors, their rusted hinges protesting as she entered. The interior was a patchwork of peeling paint and broken tiles, the remnants of a once bustling hospital. Shadows danced in the corners, and the air was thick with an unsettling silence. "Hello," she called, her voice echoing through the empty halls. No response came, just the soft rustle of dust motes floating in the beam of her flashlight. She made her way through the corridors, snapping photos and jotting down notes. Every so often, she paused, straining to hear anything beyond the eerie stillness. She had heard stories of strange occurrences, footsteps, whispers, and the fleeting sight of apparitions. Tonight, she hoped to capture something tangible. As she ventured deeper into the hospital, she arrived at the infamous room 13. The door stood slightly ajar, and she hesitated for a moment, feeling a chill run down her spine. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open, and a wave of cold air rushed past her. Inside, the room was dimly lit by the fading light from a nearby window. Dust coated the surfaces, and the remnants of medical equipment lay abandoned. Sarah felt an inexplicable heaviness in the air, as if the room itself held onto the memories of those who had suffered within its walls. "Is anyone here?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. She switched on her voice recorder, hoping to capture any sounds that might emerge. As she began to speak, a soft click sounded in the darkness. Startled, she spun around, her flashlight illuminating the corners of the room. The temperature seemed to drop further, and she shivered, feeling as though she were not alone. "Is that you?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "If there's anyone here, please show yourself," For a moment, silence enveloped her. Then, she heard it, a faint whisper, like a gentle sigh, echoing through the room. Sarah's heart raced. She quickly pointed her flashlight toward the sound, but there was nothing there. Determined not to back down, she took a step further into the room. As she did, the air grew thicker, and she felt a sudden pressure in her chest, as if someone were watching her closely. "I'm just here to listen," she said softly, her voice steadying. "I want to tell your story." Suddenly, the flashlight flickered, and the shadows seemed to shift around her. Sarah caught a glimpse of a figure in the corner of her eye, a fleeting shadow, disappearing just as quickly as it had appeared. She turned sharply, her breath catching in her throat. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice filled with a mix of fear and fascination. A cold breeze swept through the room, rustling papers on a nearby desk. The whispers intensified, forming a chorus of indistinct voices that swirled around her. She closed her eyes, trying to focus on the sounds, feeling a connection to the stories trapped within the hospital. As she opened her eyes, she noticed a small, old-fashioned locket lying on the floor. It glimmered faintly in the beam of her flashlight. She bent down to pick it up, the cold metal sending a shiver through her fingers. Opening it, she found a faded photograph of a young nurse, her smile radiant and eyes filled with compassion. "Is this you?" Sarah asked softly, holding the locket up to the light. The whispers grew softer, almost melodic, as if acknowledging the connection. The atmosphere shifted, and Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of emotion wash over her: grief, love, and a longing for peace. The spirit of the nurse seemed to linger, her presence a mix of warmth and sorrow. "Can you help me?" Sarah whispered, her heart pounding. "What do you want me to know?" Just then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, breaking the spell. Sarah jumped, her heart racing as she turned to see what had caused the noise. The shadows shifted again, and the temperature dropped even lower. She took a deep breath, steeling herself to confront whatever awaited her outside room 13. As she stepped into the hallway, the atmosphere felt charged, and she sensed a presence close behind her. The whispers grew more urgent, guiding her toward the stairs that led to the basement. It was a place she had heard was particularly haunted, a place where many believed the most tragic stories lay hidden. Intrigued and a bit apprehensive, Sarah made her way down the creaking stairs, the air thickening around her. As she reached the bottom, she found herself in a dark corridor lined with old storage rooms, each one a testament to the hospital's storied past. "Is this where you want me to go?" she called out, her voice echoing in the silence. The temperature continued to drop, and the whispers grew more distinct, forming words that danced just beyond her understanding. Suddenly, a door at the far end of the corridor creaked open, as if beckoning her. Sarah's heart raced, but she felt compelled to follow. She walked slowly toward the door, the whispers growing louder with each step. As she crossed the threshold, she found herself in a small, dimly lit room filled with dusty equipment and medical supplies. In the corner stood a tattered old bed, and on the wall hung a faded chart filled with the names of patients long forgotten. At that moment, a chill ran down her spine as she felt a cold hand brush against her arm. She spun around, her heart pounding in her chest, but no one was there. "Please, tell me what you need," she urged, feeling a mix of fear and empathy. "I'm here to help you." As if in response, a single light bulb flickered to life above her head, casting a dim glow over the room. In that light, Sarah noticed a large, leather-bound ledger on the bed, its pages yellowed with age. It was open to a section marked "Patient Records." With trembling hands, she approached the bed, realizing this could be the key to understanding the stories of those who had suffered here. She glanced down at the names and details, her heart aching as she read the accounts of lives cut short and families left grieving. In that moment, the whispers intensified, filling the air with emotion. Sarah closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the weight of their sorrow. She understood now the spirits were not only seeking recognition, they wanted their stories to be told, their pain acknowledged. With renewed determination, she pulled out her voice recorder and began to read aloud the names and stories from the ledger, feeling the energy shift around her. The whispers grew softer, and a sense of peace began to settle in the room. As she spoke, she noticed the locket still in her hand. Holding it up, she said, "This belongs to you. You deserve to be remembered." At that moment, she felt a rush of warmth, as if the spirits were surrounding her, wrapping her in gratitude. The air lightened, and the oppressive heaviness began to lift. As Sarah continued to read, the energy in the room transformed from one of sorrow to hope. The stories of the lost began to weave together, creating a tapestry of resilience and love. Finally, as she finished the last name, she felt an overwhelming sense of calm wash over her. The whispers faded into silence, leaving her with a profound sense of connection to those who had come before. As she turned to leave, a soft, gentle breeze passed by, and she knew she had honored their memories. The spirits of Yorktown Memorial Hospital had found their voice, and through her, their stories would finally be shared with the world. As Sarah made her way back through the dimly lit corridors, a sense of serenity enveloped her. The air felt lighter, almost electric, as if the spirits were satisfied with her tribute. She could still feel their presence, guiding her, and she instinctively knew that her work was far from over. Emerging from the basement, she ascended the creaky stairs to the main floor, her heart still racing with excitement. The memories of the lives that had been intertwined with Yorktown Memorial Hospital echoed in her mind, and she felt a newfound responsibility to tell their stories. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows across the hallway. She paused, feeling a chill crawl up her spine. The familiar whispers returned, low and urgent, wrapping around her like a shroud. "Follow us," they seemed to say. Without hesitation, she moved toward the source of the whispers, which drew her toward the hospital's old chapel, a small room she had overlooked earlier. The door creaked open as she approached, revealing a space filled with the remnants of past worship and reflection. Inside, the air was thick with a sense of reverence. Dust motes floated in the dim light, and the faded stained glass windows glimmered softly, casting colorful patterns across the floor. A worn altar stood at the front, adorned with flowers that had long since wilted. It was a sanctuary that had witnessed both joy and sorrow. As Sarah stepped inside, she noticed an old wooden box resting on the altar, its surface intricately carved with symbols she couldn't quite decipher. Intrigued, she approached it, brushing her fingers over the cool wood. The whispers grew stronger, almost pleading. "Open it," they seemed to urge. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, she lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of personal items, letters tied with a faded ribbon, a small, cracked mirror, and an ornate rosary. Each item seemed to tell a story of its own, remnants of lives touched by love, loss, and hope. As she gently lifted a letter, she noticed the name at the top, Maria. It was the same name from the locket she had found earlier. Her pulse quickened as she began to read, feeling an immediate connection to the nurse whose spirit she sensed was still present. "Dearest Maria," the letter began, "if you find this, know that my love for you transcends time. I am forever grateful for your kindness and the light you brought into my darkest hours. I will always cherish the moments we shared." Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. She could feel the love pouring from the words, the pain of separation echoing through the ages. This wasn't just a love letter. It was a testament to the human spirit and the enduring bonds that connect us all. The whispers intensified as she read on, urging her to understand that these stories were not just isolated events. They were part of a larger tapestry of life and loss. With every word, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing upon her shoulders. She quickly pulled out her voice recorder, capturing the reading of the letter aloud. "I will share your love story," she promised, her voice steady with resolve. "You will not be forgotten." As she placed the letter back in the box, a sudden rush of wind swept through the chapel, extinguishing her flashlight and plunging her into darkness. The whispers became a cacophony, swirling around her, both urgent and pleading. "Stay calm," she whispered to herself, her heart racing. Reaching into her bag, she fumbled for a small LED lantern. When she turned it on, the soft glow illuminated the room. revealing the wooden altar and the box but casting elongated shadows on the walls. Just then, a soft sigh echoed in the room, and she felt a presence beside her. "Maria," she called, hoping to connect with the spirit she had felt throughout her investigation. The temperature dropped again, and the lantern flickered. "Thank you," a voice whispered, faint yet clear. "You listen, you remember." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she felt the gratitude radiating from the spirit. "I promise to tell your story," she replied, her voice filled with emotion. "You deserve to be remembered." Suddenly, the whispers transformed into a gentle melody, a lullaby that resonated through the chapel, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. It was the same melody she had sensed earlier, a thread connecting all the spirits who had passed through these halls. As the music filled the air, Sarah closed her eyes, allowing herself to be carried away by the memories of love and loss that the spirits were sharing. She could feel the weight of their stories, and she realized that this was not just about documenting the past. It was about honoring the lives that had once thrived in this place. The lullaby gradually faded, leaving behind a profound silence. Sarah opened her eyes, feeling invigorated and ready to embrace the challenge ahead. With the items from the altar safely tucked away, she made her way back toward the entrance, the weight of the stories she had gathered pressing upon her heart. As she stepped outside, the night air was cool and refreshing. She looked back at the hospital, now illuminated by the soft glow of the moonlight. It stood as a monument to the lives that had touched it, a reminder that while the past may be shrouded in darkness, it is also filled with light. Feeling a sense of purpose, Sarah knew she would return to Yorktown Memorial Hospital. She would not only tell the stories of Maria and the others, but would also create a space where the community could come together to remember, reflect, and honor those who had come before. The journey was just beginning, and with each step, she felt the spirits walking alongside her, their whispers guiding her toward the truth. The hospital held countless stories waiting to be uncovered, and Sarah was determined to shine a light on them all, ensuring they would never fade into silence again. With renewed determination, Sarah set out to document the stories of the souls who had passed through Yorktown Memorial Hospital. Over the following weeks, she returned to the hospital often, armed with her camera, voice recorder, and the cherished items she had discovered in the chapel. She reached out to the local community, inviting them to share their memories of the hospital and the people who had been cared for there. The response was overwhelming. Families brought photographs, letters, and stories that painted a rich tapestry of life within the hospital's walls, tales of hope, healing, and heartbreak. As Sarah listened, she felt the spirits around her, their presence growing stronger with each story shared. The community's engagement breathed new life into the old building, transforming it from a ghostly relic into a place of remembrance and healing. With every gathering, she felt more connected to Maria and the other spirits. Their whispers became less urgent, replaced by a comforting presence that guided her through the process. She compiled the stories into a book titled Echoes of Yorktown, celebrating the lives and legacies of those who had once sought solace within the hospital. On the night of the book's launch, Sarah organized a special event at the hospital. The old chapel was filled with the warmth of flickering candles and the gentle hum of voices as friends, family, and community members gathered to honor the memories. As she stood at the front, holding a copy of her book, she felt a surge of emotion. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice trembling with excitement and gratitude. "This is not just my story, it's our story. Together, we have woven a narrative that honors those who walked these halls before us." She shared excerpts from the book, recounting tales of love and loss, bravery and compassion. With each word, the atmosphere in the chapel grew warmer, and Sarah could feel the spirits gathering around her, their presence palpable. As she concluded her speech, the lights dimmed slightly, and a soft breeze rustled through the open windows. It was as if the spirits were acknowledging her efforts, their gratitude echoing in the silence. "Now, let's remember those who came before us," Sarah said, inviting everyone to share their own stories and memories. One by one, people stood to recount their experiences of loved ones cared for, of miraculous recoveries, and of the kindness shown by the nurses who had worked tirelessly. The air filled with laughter, tears, and the palpable love that resonated throughout the room. As the night went on, Sarah felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had helped give voice to the silent, bridging the gap between the past and present. As the last stories were shared and the event came to a close, Sarah stepped outside for a moment of quiet reflection. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a gentle glow over the hospital. She closed her eyes, feeling a rush of gratitude for the journey she had undertaken. In that moment, she sensed Maria's presence beside her, the warmth of the nurse's spirit enveloping her. "Thank you," Sarah whispered, feeling the bond they had formed. "You're finally at peace." Suddenly, she heard a soft, melodic lullaby, a sound that seemed to float on the night air. It was the same tune she had heard in the chapel, and she realized that it was a farewell, a beautiful acknowledgement of the stories that would now live on in the hearts of the community. With a smile, Sarah turned back toward the hospital, knowing that her work was far from over. The echoes of Yorktown Memorial Hospital would continue to resonate, and she was committed to ensuring that the legacies of the spirits who had called it home would never fade into silence again. And as she walked away, she felt the whispers of those she had honored surrounding her, a gentle reminder that their stories would forever remain alive, woven into the fabric of history and the hearts of those who chose to remember. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.